Okay, exercises. Well, as I said, the format of essential music theory is a little bit of lessons followed immediately by an exercise to reinforce that concept. It's fun, it's interactive, there's oral and visual reinforcement, and they're randomized as well. And then in the exercise, there will always be a counter, or there should be a counter most of the time, where it shows what the goal is, and it'll keep track of how many they got correct. And this play again button right here will only appear when they go all the way through the exercise, and it'll show up and it'll give them the opportunity to play again. And as I said, all the exercises are randomized, so every time, if it's name the interval, it's going to come around in a different sequence and order every time they play it. So even if someone's sitting next to someone else in the lab, they're going to be in a different order than is on their screen. Okay? The reviews are the tests, and there are 18 reviews because there are 18 units, and there are 5 sections in every review, and there's a score for each section. And it also tracks progress. Like, for example, if they take one section of the review, they can come back and continue on where they left off. The teacher also has the ability to set time limits per question or time limits for the full review. If you want them to complete it in a certain amount of time, you can set that. Even in the review, there's oral reinforcement. So there's not only oral reinforcement in peer trainings, but there's also oral reinforcement in lessons, exercises, and review. And once again, the review, the questions come in the same order every time, but the possible answers could be in a different order. So if one computer's next to the other, what they see as the first option is different than the one next to them. And tests can be retaken again, and what it does is it will keep the score of the most recent test as their average score. It's not going to average all the scores. If they take the test twice, it's not going to average the scores between the two tests. It will only record the recent score. However, in the log, you can go in and see how they did, because the log keeps track of everything. You can see how they did the first time in each section. And it also keeps track of the number of times taken. And it will also record the date and time from each test. Okay, the glossary. It's every term and symbol from all 3 volumes. And there's alphabetical listing, as I discussed before. And you can click on the icon to hear the pronunciation, audio icon for the audio example, and you get the visual example. We discussed this already. And it'll list all the lessons that reinforce the term. And you can also return to the current lesson. Here's an example.
First inversion.
Okay. And then it shows you the lessons where that appears. Okay. The next thing is the general features of version 3. So it runs as a standalone or over network. You can import a full class list into the program. You can import and export records in batch. You can set an optional passing grade. For example, you can allow them to go on from one unit to the next without setting any limits. Or you can say, I only want them to move forward as long as they get over 70% or 80% or whatever. So that way you can control to make sure that they've actually learned the concepts before they move on. You can set the program in full screen or windowed mode if you want to operate other programs at the same time. And you can navigate from the keyboard or mouse. And once again, bookmarking and tracking. Version 3, special new features if you're familiar with version 1 and version 2. It's a basically totally new modern look and feel. It was reprogrammed in Adobe Flash and Flex. And one of the main reasons why is we wanted to be able to run it over the internet as well. So it was previously created in Macromedia Director, which is now owned by Adobe as well. But anyway, we reprogrammed it to this Adobe Flash and Flex and had to create all these Flash movies. I think there's over 600 Flash movies in there. And then we also provided increased flexibility on controls and privileges. So there's different levels of administrative, supervisor, educator, and student levels as well. And now for the student and educator, the CD-ROM is no longer needed in the drive. It was never needed for the network version, but now it's not needed for any of them. There's help for each function, and scores can be aggregated by class and other groupings. as far as version 3 customization, that's the most important aspect. As we've gone from version 1 to 2 to 3, we've tried to provide more customization. That's something that Alfred is big on right now. Some of you may be familiar with our new Sound Innovations methods for concert band and orchestra. It gives the directors the ability to go in and customize the pedagogy to their individual taste. And this is the same type of thing that we're providing with Essentials in Music Theory version 3. So you can put in different syllabuses, like there's syllabuses for the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music and Australian Music Examination Board and the Royal College in Canada. You can also customize. In version 2 or 1, you were able to customize tests, but you can still do that as well, but you can add all kinds of additional things in there, movies and pictures and exercises, etc. It also has the ability to handle multilingual support. You can also customize the lessons and lesson plans to suit your needs, so that's something that's new. And you can take all the various elements, the text, the audio, the images, the flash movies, and review questions in any layout configuration. And then you can customize terms by adding your own term as well, or you can modify terms. So these are all things that are new, not just to customize tests, but the ability to customize lessons and exercises and terms. Okay, I'm going to take you over to the program now. Actually, let's go down here. All right. And put that on my desktop. Here you have the ability of selecting a different group to log in. Like there's different classes, Mr. Smith's 6th grade class, or Mr. Jones' 6th grade class, or Mrs. Brown's 6th grade class, etc. And then once you pull that group up, you can pull that user up. Now, you will notice that there's a certain music that plays when it starts up, and when we did version 2, I think there was 5 different musical examples that came up. One of the cool things with system options here is you can actually control the music that plays when you start up. These are all the MP3 files that are in the startup option. So you can import your own MP3s. We put a big variety of, it's classical, it's jazz, it's band, it's orchestra. And if you don't like any of that, that's something that you can customize it. So that's music at startup. So you can remove any of these or import your own, etc. And then you can control the default language that shows up here. We actually have English American, English Australian, and English British, which, as Robin knows, is very different. And then you can control the review style as a radio button or checkbox, and then basic login style. So I'm going to also here, if you check for updates, this will take you to our website, and we're constantly doing updates. In fact, this is version 3. We actually have up to version 3.03, and I think we're posting version 3.04 too. As with all programs, there's constantly updates, changes, bug fixes, and this will take you to the website and allow you to download the current version. And then this is a log of the student activity, and basically you can click on the icon. Actually, I'll take you to actually view scores, because that's a better user log. And I'm going to pull up, for example, Mrs. Smith's 6th grade class. This is basically a log of, for example, I'm going to select this user test, and then you can see their scores for Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. They got a 77, 96, 82. When I go to user scores, I can see in the review, this first review, they took each of these 5 sections one time. This is the score that they got. I'm sorry, this is the length of time that they spent on each section. This was the goal for each of those sections, and this is what they completed, and this was their score. And then here is a user log where it basically records everything, all their activity. So it shows you, what time and what date they went in, what exactly they accessed. And the benefit of this is you're going to be having students working at their own pace, and you can say, you're having trouble with bass clef, or you're having trouble with first inversion, go work on that. You're going to be able to see exactly how they spent their time, because it logs everything. You can open any of these folders and get the detail of not only what day they went in, how much time they spent on each section, all that stuff. And you can also, you can get the scores of the reviews. So here, For example, this is add review staff and class questions. It's Volume 1, Unit 1. There was a goal of 10. They completed 10, and they got a score of 80. So it's really thorough in terms of keeping track of everything that your student does. And I could pull up any of these different class lists from here. Okay, so that is basically the student. And what I'm going to do is take you into, we've seen the glossary already. But you could pull up any letter here in arpeggio, as we saw. We did that.
Arpeggio.
Okay. And then some of the other cool features that are available here are the ability to customize a lesson. And so basically, you could pull all the elements. These are all the Flash movies, the SWF files that are already in the program. Or you can, if you're into that and you want to create your own Adobe Flash movie, you can import it and bring it into the movie library. These are all the images. These are all the JPEG files that are throughout the entire program. These are all the MP3 audio files. We even have some separate files for Australia because it could be different. These are all the text that we have in here throughout the program. And then this is all the review questions. So basically, if you wanted to create... Sorry, we're getting a little announcement on our log ticket. You just take whatever, this is the lesson stage right here, and you take for example, this movie, you could drag it on, you can move it around here, and here's an image, I can put that on there, I can put this image on here, I can add any of these audio buttons, Basically, I can build my lesson individually. And then I can save it, and then I can use it if I want to go ahead and create a customized lesson plan. So this is a nice little feature that allows you to customize a lesson. As far as the plan, it comes as the default Essentials in Music Theory lesson plan, but I can copy this lesson plan, or I can add a new lesson plan. And say, for example, I wanted to take something and move it up here. I want to put staff lines and numbers after, staff. So you have that ability to move things around. And you have the ability to pull from your lesson library that you've created and bring it into your lesson plan. So if you don't like the order in which we've taught things, or if you think there's more reinforcement necessary, you can create your own lesson and just import it into your own lesson plan. As far as the customized terms, this is really cool. So for example, if you don't like what we've shown for arpeggio, you can click on Modify Term, and you can change the definition to something different if you feel it's not clear enough. So I can change the definition. I can also change the spoken. If you don't like the way the lady pronounces it, you can bring in your own spoken definition MP3 file. You can bring in a different visual example if you want, and you can also have a different audio example. So you could basically go in and modify every single term and symbol in the course. In addition to that, you also have the ability to add a term. So if I click on Add Term, I just name the term, I come up with the definition, I bring in the spoken term audio, I bring in the visual example GIF file, and I can bring the audio example MP3 file as well. So you can add your own terms, or you can modify any terms. That's a really fun feature. And you also have the ability to create your own syllabus as well.